You're saying you can't follow my instructions just because you're an inexperienced part-timer? It's because we rely on you that you can have this lifestyle, right? I found out they were moving forward with living together behind my back, and even worse, assuming I'd be their housekeeper. It's outrageous. They think I won't talk back or retaliate, but they'll regret it soon enough. I'm Betty, a 70-year-old housewife. At 70, many people stop working due to health or pension reasons, but I can't just sit still, so I'm still working part-time. I always want to try new things. I can't just stay home alone. I've been doing this part-time job for 30 years now, and I consider myself quite experienced. I used to work as an office worker for a fairly well-known local company. I joined the company right after high school, thinking it would be a steady office job without sales or physical labor, but it seems my body reached its limits without me even realizing it. At the office, I faced a grumpy boss who spread negativity, a senior colleague who drove numerous people to resignation with his snide remarks, and a domineering older woman who believed her word was law. The office was a parade of unique personalities. So, my simple hope of working steadily until retirement, nurtured since high school, crumbled easily. However, during this dark time, a moment of light shone through. It was when I met my future husband, Anthony. It started with a chance encounter due to a cold call sales visit. I couldn't help but notice our eyes often met. Is there something on my face? I fell in love with your beautiful smile at first. Would you like to join me for lunch during the break? Curiosity about this straightforward man led me to accept his lunch invitation. From there, our relationship deepened quickly. And it didn't take long for us to start dating. I want to make you happy. Let's support and build a life together, shall we? I accepted his proposal and we got married. Marriage was bliss for me at the time. The use of past tense relates to my retirement and Anthony's behavior. Even after marriage, I continued to work, hoping to add a little more to our family finances, especially since I was determined to complete my tenure at the company. Before marrying Anthony, I had told him, I want to work at my current company for a long time. And he was very supportive back then. There's no rule that you have to quit your job after getting married. More money never hurts. I hope you'll continue working until retirement. Soon after our marriage, I became pregnant and gave birth, making it natural to want to keep working for the extra financial need. However, this decision to consult Anthony and continue working would become something I'd regret. Right after getting married, I found myself caught between the unfamiliar demands of married life and workplace stress, leading to a decline in my health. A departmental transfer added to my woes with unfamiliar tasks and unjust criticism from my boss, making it difficult to manage both physically and emotionally. Being married, I couldn't just decide to quit without discussing it with Anthony. I consulted him several times before making the decision to resign. I've been feeling unwell lately, probably due to stress. I'd like to quit and focus on my treatment. Really? Maybe it's all in your head. But, well, it's fine, I guess. Though I thoroughly discussed my reasons for quitting, post-retirement life plans, and our financial management, Anthony's responses always seemed detached. I talked about it often and believed he was listening. His responses might have sounded indifferent, but since he replied, I assumed he understood. That was what I thought until the day I resigned. Returning home with a bouquet from my colleagues, I was met by an infuriated Anthony. Did you really quit? Just running away from stress? What are we going to do about our future now? Really? I've discussed this with you many times. Was our agreement to keep working a lie? Did you lie about wanting to get married quickly, knowing I wanted a dual income? In a sudden outburst, Anthony snatched the bouquet from my hands and hurled it to the ground. I thought with both of us earning, our finances would be secure, and with a woman to do the chores, life would be easier. Useless. The night I left my job, I felt I saw Anthony's true colors. Anthony, a graduate from a prestigious university, worked as a salesman in a major company's key division. I remember how his colleagues and juniors spoke of him as a hardworking salesman and a role model. But in reality, he was someone who lacked confidence to support the family on his own income, even temporarily, and had married with the intention of having a partner to handle all household chores. I came to the realization that Anthony didn't marry me for a life together, but rather for his convenience, choosing me as a source of income and a household manager. I recall feeling almost despair, recognizing that Anthony lived behind the facade of a hardworking, respected family man in public. As my health gradually improved, I began exploring part-time job opportunities. Further, upon hearing from a friend that writing diary-like blogs on the internet was becoming popular, I used the money I saved from my part-time job to buy a computer. Subsequently, I diligently continued to study on my own, utilizing the gaps between my part-time job and the quiet hours after my family had gone to sleep. I've always enjoyed learning and trying new things, so blogging was not a hardship for me. However, since my health deteriorated, Anthony has consistently looked at me with dissatisfaction. It seems he was particularly upset about my shift from full-time to part-time work. He appeared to view part-time jobs as trivial, fit only for those who can't handle full-time work, and frequently made derogatory comments. Don't get too proud over the little money you make from your part-time job. Don't use part-time jobs as an excuse to neglect your household duties. The sarcasm from Anthony was truly unpleasant, but I used to just brush it off as a way to decompress. However, I was unaware that a situation was approaching that couldn't be simply ignored by brushing off Anthony's remarks. Mom, I want you to meet someone. I've decided to get married to a woman I'm dating at work. I'm seeing someone from work, and I'd like both Dad and Mom to meet her. Has the time finally come for Robert to introduce someone he's dating? I'm happy about it. Just make sure she's not a dull person like Betty. Of course not. She's a wonderful woman, not at all like Mom. Besides, I've already told her about Dad. She's eager to meet my elite dad who works for a well-known company. Robert has always looked up to Anthony, who works in a leading role at a famous company. He seems to believe that because Anthony is capable enough to work at a large corporation, he must be capable as well. Perhaps influenced by Anthony's derogatory comments about me, Robert also seems to look down on me, with hints of sarcasm in his words. Robert is currently working as an employee at a nearby supermarket, and it seems he is dating a woman who works there part-time. Honestly, being our only son over 40 with a less than pleasant personality, I had doubts about his prospects for marriage, so this news was incredibly joyful. On the agreed day, Robert brought her home. Nice to meet you, I'm Lisa. Please take care of me. Seeing Lisa, who spoke in a somewhat nasal voice and looked up through her lashes, gave me chills. She wore an off-the-shoulder knit top with a very short skirt, a flashy and revealing outfit that seemed inappropriate for her age. Was it a woman's intuition or a parent's instinct? Seeing Lisa, I felt it was not the attire to meet one's future in-laws, and at the same time, I had an uneasy feeling. However, Anthony seemed quite taken with her at first sight. You've brought home such a cute lady. I'm so happy that such a cute woman will become Robert's wife. It would have been fine if he just liked Lisa at first sight. But he started to constantly demean me while praising her. Oh, Lisa, you're looking cute in that blouse today. Beauty really shines when worn by a pretty girl. If Betty wore that blouse, it would be like casting pearls before swine. Oh, stop, Anthony. Saying such things is an insult to both pigs and pearls. I usually let some comments slide, but it was unpleasant to be persistently insulted. Once, overcome by disgust, I fell silent, only to be mocked by Anthony and Lisa. What's the matter, Betty? Why the scary face? What, are you seeing Lisa as a rival? How pathetic. I can't believe Betty thinks she can compete on the same terms. Even Robert started to pile on. Mom doesn't dress properly because she doesn't work properly. That's why she always looks so sloppy. To be spoken to like this by Anthony and Lisa was bad enough, but now even by my own son. Moreover, I sensed an uncomfortably close relationship between Lisa and Anthony, almost beyond what would be expected of in-laws. I decided to just let it go and ignore them because it was too distressing to deal with. However, ignoring Anthony and Lisa due to discomfort only led to more egregious behaviors. They started going out casually and bringing back receipts for large amounts. It became more frequent for Anthony to go out at night with the newlywed Robert and Lisa, often returning drunk in a taxi late at night. Finding receipts nearly $1,000 in Anthony's coat was not a rare occurrence. I felt trembling anger over such extravagance, considering our age and the prospect of not having work in the future. On another day, I overheard the three of them planning a stay at a luxury hotel, treating me like an outsider. Let's go to the new luxury hotel in Anchorage with Robert and his wife. I hear the course meals are exquisite. Dad, you're so well informed. I'd like to go, but money's tight. Robert glanced greedily at Anthony, who responded confidently. Leave it to Dad. With the company bonus, it's like we're on a big ship. I'm so happy. Anthony, you're amazing. I want to eat lots of king crab. From the conversation, it seemed Anthony would be paying for the expensive stay, costing over $1,000 per person per night. They must be able to make such statements because they aren't thinking about the consequences. Oh, is Betty staying with us? Of course not. Stay in the same room as Betty? That would be a waste of the room cost. Right, such a nice room would be wasted on Mom. I could hear the three of them mocking me, shaking with frustration and resentment. Then, right after returning from the luxury hotel trip with Robert and his wife, Anthony announced his plan to build a new house. What? Why build a new house when we already have one? I've decided it. You have no say in this. Despite his easy assertion, neither Anthony nor I were young anymore. Just having a house doesn't guarantee a secure life afterward. Even if I don't interfere, what about the money we need for our retirement? I'm nearing retirement. Whether I retire now or later with extended employment, I'll have enough money. We can manage with loans and investment. This is why women ignorant about money matters are no good. Anthony's rebuttal, filled with jargon like a bank or salesman's spiel, left me uneasy. Moreover, he spoke lightly of taking out a loan, but there's no guarantee we would get favorable terms at our age. You talk about loans easily, but what about our age and the loan approval process? If we apply jointly with Betty, it should be fine. I've already discussed this with an expert. They say it won't be a problem. Although Anthony was using the expert's opinion to convince me, I remained unconvinced. Is it really common for experts to advise nearing retirement couples to easily take joint loans? Are you sure about this? What now? When did Betty become so important? Are you saying the experts are wrong? This is an order as the head of the family. Though sudden, our current house does have its inconveniences for later life. If it's about minor remodeling, then rebuilding might be an option. Was Anthony, despite his harsh words, secretly considering a comfortable life for our retirement? However, this was just me wanting to believe what suited me best, as I would soon come to realize. The construction of the new house finished quickly. The design and build seemed quite modern, more suited to younger people. Facing the house with no trace of barrier-free design, I couldn't help but speak to Anthony. It's quite a unique design for us to live in. It seems big and the cleaning will be tough. What are you talking about? We're going to live with Robert and his wife. I was unaware that Robert and his wife had requested the new house. It seemed like an opportunity for Anthony, who was particularly fond of Lisa, to live together with them. Robert and his wife were happy to live in a new, beautiful house and thought they could get away with not doing anything by having me handle the household chores. The fact that such an important decision was made behind my back, treating me essentially as a housekeeper, was utterly unacceptable. Ah, Betty, we're going to live together, right? I might rely on you for housework and stuff. Rely on me for housework? Are you serious? Our cute son and his wife helping out will bring excitement to our later years. Actually, there's something we'd like you to do right away. Lisa, having a lot of personal belongings, was behind in her moving preparations. I was speechless upon seeing the room cluttered with brand bags and clothes that Anthony had bought her. Then, Anthony asked me to help Lisa. You wouldn't abandon Lisa in trouble, right? We're already living in the new house, so Betty, you should bring Lisa's things over first. Anthony and Robert's family likely never imagined how inconvenient it would be without me, whom they usually looked down upon. Lisa seemed unable to organize her belongings efficiently, and even if things went smoothly, it would likely take at least 2 weeks. Preparing for my move was challenging too, but thinking about the future life motivated me. On Lisa's final day of packing, I shared my decision with the kindest smile I could muster. Lisa, you must be tired from the unfamiliar task of packing and moving. I've booked a nearby business hotel for you. Why don't you rest there today and head to the new house tomorrow? It's better to start a new life well rested. Thank you, Betty. That's quite thoughtful of you. I still have a bit to do, so I'll take my leave. Good night. Lisa, unaware of my plan, headed to the business hotel. As soon as Lisa left, I went straight to the airport. A one-way ticket to Hawaii, this was my escape from hell to freedom. In fact, I had started taking serious steps towards divorce as soon as the new house was built. I had been consulting a lawyer, known for their expertise in divorce issues and introduced by an acquaintance, about the problematic behaviors of Anthony. Having arrived in Hawaii on a night flight, I slept soundly for the first time in a long while. The next morning, noticing a call from Anthony, I decided to answer. Hey, is Lisa's move done? Yes, it's done. And I've just completed moving into my new place in Hawaii. I could hear Anthony's bewildered voice over the phone. Hawaii? What, is it a trip? You think I'd go on a trip alone at this time? His incredulous voice came through the phone, and I struggled to contain my laughter. Then, regaining composure, Anthony spoke more assertively. Hawaii? I didn't hear about this. Going on a solo trip to Hawaii at such a time, you must be living large. Who said anything about a trip? Anthony still seems to believe I'm on a whimsical solo trip and will return someday. You hardly work, yet there's plenty for you to do in this house. Come back soon. Oh, don't pretend you don't know. It's divorce. Anthony, sensing something serious from my words, started to panic over the phone. Divorce, just like that? You think I'm taken by Lisa? Competing with her is audacious, Betty. A jealous wife wanting a divorce because her husband is too close to another woman. Is that your narrative, Anthony? Don't make me laugh. The lawyer will contact you later for details, so make sure you sign properly. At first, Anthony seemed to brush off my words as a joke, but the mention of a lawyer seemed to hit hard. No way, the house has Betty's loan too. Divorce? How can that happen? With a divorce, we'll need to restructure the loan. The lawyer will explain, so please cooperate. If we divorce and restructure the loan, the repayment will undoubtedly be challenging. Having a skilled lawyer handle everything from the loan to the divorce and property division was a great relief. Oh, I almost forgot something important. I've requested a provisional garnishment on your retirement benefits from your company. I've informed them of the details. What? Garnishing my retirement benefits? You think that's allowed? Relying on my retirement benefits in addition to the divorce? His panic turned to anger over the phone. It seems that for Anthony, the idea of others knowing that the divorce is happening due to his own faults is a distressing matter. At work, I'm known as a family-loving husband and a father respected by his children. Who would believe such a thing? Such a facade, built on lies, will eventually crumble. Of course, I had taken this into account when I reported to Anthony's workplace and even proceeded with the provisional garnishment. Furthermore, I added a final touch to the situation. Are you familiar with marital property? As I mentioned earlier, all this will be explained by the lawyer. The company is already aware of the situation, so let's see how it turns out. I could hear Robert and Lisa making a commotion on the other end of the phone. Apparently, they were blaming me for not returning to handle the household chores and errands. Then, presumably handed the phone by Anthony, Robert and Lisa directly started to complain to me. Hey, what are we supposed to do about housework if Mom doesn't come back? You're not expecting Dad or Lisa to do it, are you? There's no rule about who has to do the housework. You're all adults, you can manage. Besides, Robert, shouldn't you be more concerned about not looking for affairs on dating sites? I had heard from a friend that Robert was using dating sites. At first, since he was married, I thought it couldn't be true, but the profile page shown to me by my friend, although the photo was edited, was unmistakably Robert himself. It was discovered because he had been persistently sending messages to my friend's daughter. Single male, second son, works at a listed company, loyal personality, treasures the one he loves. I see. What? Accusing me of cheating? Is this some kind of harassment, Mom? It was shocking to discover my own son was secretly engaging in affairs. As Robert frantically and unreasonably retorted, I continued unfazed. Harassment? I'm just reading what's written here. Surely, Lisa knows about this? I've just sent her the link to this profile. Lisa's scream could be heard, indicating she had likely seen the profile. Betty, is this some kind of fake or harassment? Stop it already. Stop it? That's my line, Lisa. Aren't you the one who's been racking up debts under my name? I had received debt collection notices for debts I didn't recognize. Upon investigation, it turned out Lisa had incurred them, and they were sent to me as they couldn't collect from her. I don't know what you're spending on, but living beyond your means to the point of debt is destructive. After living off Anthony's money for years, don't you dare lecture me. That must be how it seems to you, Lisa. As for your debts, I've already informed the lawyer along with Anthony's matter. They'll be in touch. Anthony and Robert's family were still muttering something on the other end of the phone, but I hung up, not wanting to waste more time. The next day, when Anthony went to work, he was apparently met with cold stares from everyone on his floor. According to a colleague of Anthony, news about the provisional garnishment of his retirement benefits had leaked out, and many people came to know of it. Though he had a stellar career as a top salesman and received offers for re-employment and positions at affiliate companies, those opportunities were cut off due to the rumors of the garnishment, and he ended up retiring as planned. Barely managing to restructure the loan, he now lives in extreme poverty due to his past extravagance. Robert, you said your job at the supermarket was part of learning management, and eventually you'd work at a famous company through Dad's introduction, right? It can't be helped since Dad quit his job. Lisa, why don't you sell those branded goods you pestered Dad for and use the money to support us? Don't joke. If I knew Anthony would end up like this, I wouldn't have married Robert. Lisa was furious as she had decided to marry Robert partly because of his elite father-in-law. She felt betrayed. Robert had used Anthony's status to attract Lisa, promising her a lavish life once he joined a famous company through Anthony's help. Robert had promised Lisa an elegant lifestyle where she could have anything she desired once he secured a position at a famous company through Anthony's influence, but this never materialized. Lisa's screaming and violent behavior caught the attention of neighbors, leading to a period under administrative care. Her extreme behavior gradually led to mental health issues. Due to stress, it appears she developed overeating disorder, spending all her money on food to the point of gaining so much weight that she could no longer support her own body. A former neighbor informed me that she had eventually been banned from some stores. Starting anew at this age, especially finding work, would require considerable effort, which seems unlikely to be successful. Robert's situation worsened as well. He caused trouble with a customer at the supermarket where he worked and had already been fired. I had heard previously that Robert had issues with customer service, and it eventually escalated into an argument with a customer that became uncontrollable. He reportedly caused such a ruckus in the store, damaging shelves and merchandise to the extent that they were rendered unusable, which apparently led to his forced resignation due to disciplinary action. Robert often boasted about Anthony's name, claiming he was too good for a petty supermarket job and would make a big name for himself working hard in a large corporation. His future now seems worrisome. Soon everyone will see how great I am. I'm not someone to just smolder in a place like this. Even after quitting his job, his braggadocio hasn't subsided, and he's been busy on social media trying to impress others with his grandeur. Furthermore, believing Anthony was wealthy, Robert hasn't been job hunting but instead spends his days oscillating between home and gambling. Lisa is a woman. She should be able to do at least some housework. I don't need to listen to Anthony, jobless and broke, about what I should do. Anthony, who has never done housework himself and previously pushed all household chores onto me, is now seemingly trying to make Lisa do them, leading to ugly conflicts. The neighbors have conveyed these unbearable details to me, suggesting the reality must be quite dreadful. As for me, following the finalization of the divorce, I am now enjoying a free life in Hawaii. I had been diligently saving money from my part-time job and continued blogging for many years, which allowed me to accumulate a significant amount of savings. It seems Anthony was too busy making snide remarks about me, not realizing that I had my own resources and plans. Anthony and Robert were unaware that I had saved enough money from my blog, which I kept as a secret nest egg, to afford a new house. Moreover, my long-term commitment to blogging was recognized by a certain company, and I received an offer to provide content combining travel and local information. Given the freedom to express the charm of any place as a writer, I chose Hawaii, a place I had always admired, and decided to buy a new house there, which turned out to be the right decision. The warmth and welcoming nature of the people who embraced me, an outsider, fills me with gratitude. I live alone now, but I quickly made friends, so I never feel lonely in my daily life. I'm glad that my years of effort have allowed me to lead a happy and free life. Like the people living in this area, I too want to continue living with compassion for others. Mom, actually. I looked down at my daughter, Lucy, in surprise. It was the first time she had called me Mom. Lucy, my husband's child from a previous marriage, hadn't warmed up to me all over the past year. But now, she had called me that for the first time. I almost teared up as she reached out her right hand to me. In her open palm lay a single ring. "What's this?" On closer inspection, it was a wedding ring. Judging by its size, it belonged to a woman. "It's for Mom, who gave birth to me." I squatted down in front of a trembling, downcast Lucy. "You're real Mom's, huh? Do you want to meet her?" My husband was overseas on a business trip. I gently asked, thinking she must be feeling lonely with just the two of us, strangers, at home. "No. I want you to throw this away." "What?" "As you know." As I listened to Lucy, I could feel myself getting enveloped in anger. I should leave, shouldn't I? I hugged my 10-year-old daughter, who had come to such a conclusion, tightly. Stroking Lucy's crying head, I whispered softly, "Tell her tomorrow, as you wish. I won't let anyone make my daughter cry. She'll get what she deserves. My name is Kate, I'm 29 years old. I got married last year and am now a stay-at-home wife. My husband, Mike, is 37 years old, and this is a second marriage for both of us. We met at work. Aside from the fact that the workplace was my father's company, it was a very normal relationship between colleagues. By the time I joined, he had already divorced his previous wife, but he was a very reliable presence as a colleague. Lucy, his daughter from that marriage, is 10 years old. Even a year after marrying Mike, she hasn't warmed up to me at all. Lucy would answer when I asked her something. She would eat her meals without leaving anything behind. But she never initiated conversation with me or talked about school or her friends. I suppose it's part of being a teenager, but it still made me feel lonely. I heard that the divorce with Lucy's real mother, and was bitter. She drank a lot and was unfaithful. Mike had said that if it weren't for Lucy, he would have divorced her much sooner. Sometimes when he came home late at night, the house would be empty. There were several occasions when Lucy, still a preschooler at the time, was left home alone, crying. So, they fought often. Lucy, seeing her parents like this, kept crying and saying she didn't want them to separate. Lucy was really pitiable back then, Mike had said. Certainly, being left alone, feeling lonely and scared, crying. Then, because of that, seeing her parents fighting. It was a time when she should have been more and more spoiled by her mom. Instead of just playing, laughing with friends, being unconditionally loved by her parents, and going to sleep happily every night. When she was in kindergarten, those days should have been the norm. I wanted to tell and to her face that she was a failure as a mother. On the day Lucy became a second grader and disappeared, leaving only the ring and a signed divorce petition on the table. The breakfast dishes were left unwashed, and the laundry was undone. Lucy probably didn't even know what a divorce petition was. Thinking about Lucy waiting for her mother's return in such a home made me feel unbearable. A year later, Mike was raising Lucy alone. Even before that, Mike often taught me a lot about work and helped me out. So, I tried to take some of his work off his shoulders and stayed late with him so he could go home earlier. But it wasn't just me. Everyone helped Mike, who was capable and kind at work. When the elementary school called to say Lucy had a high fever, I was the one who made a fuss. "Please go home early. It's pitiful she's running a fever." But I have a meeting this afternoon. At least let me make an apology call. Manager. It's okay if he leaves now, right? I'll make the apology call to the meeting attendees. My voice seemed to echo down the hallway. I'll explain to the meeting attendees myself, said my father, who happened to be passing by in the hallway, allowing Mike to leave immediately. After work, I also visited Lucy to cheer her up, and this event brought Mike and me even closer than before. Knowing his accomplishments and character at the company, my parents didn't oppose my marriage to Mike, who had a history of divorce, at all. I think of Lucy as my real family. But reality is harsh. Contrary to my feelings, even a year after getting married, Lucy hadn't warmed up to me. But, on the night Mike left for an overseas business trip, Lucy approached me. Mom, actually. I stopped what I was doing in the kitchen and turned around. I looked down at Lucy, incredulous. Finally, she had called me that for the first time. Tears welled up in my eyes. I almost burst into tears. Sniffling, I looked at Lucy's right hand that she held out to me. In her open palm was a small ring. What's this? It was a wedding ring upon closer inspection. Likely belonging to a woman. It's from the mom who gave birth to me. I wiped my hands on my apron and squatted down in front of Lucy, who was looking down and trembling. Even if she was a terrible mother, she might still be important to Lucy. My husband was overseas on a business trip and would be away for a while. I gently asked, thinking she must be feeling lonely with just the two of us, strangers, at home. So she's your real mom, huh? Do you want to meet her? But Lucy shook her head. I want you to throw this away. What? Why? I asked, puzzled by her sudden request. I met Mom yesterday. Yesterday? When yesterday? After school. Not just yesterday. I've seen Mom several times on my way home from school, asking about my new mom. Even when I say I don't know, she keeps asking. About me? I wondered why. The last bit of maternal love? Did she want to make sure her daughter was being taken care of? My thoughts were completely betrayed. The new mom, you're rich, right? I heard Dad works for the company owned by your father, right? Chills ran down my spine. An indescribable sense of disgust rose within me. Anything else? Didn't she say anything else? She said she met Dad too. Told him to hand over Lucy or bring money. But it seems Dad doesn't have much money. Next, she said she'd tell the new mom, so you should make a fuss about not wanting to go. Lucy started crying. I felt myself getting enveloped in anger. I should leave, shouldn't I? I hugged my 10-year-old daughter, who had come to such a conclusion, tightly. Stroking Lucy's crying head, I whispered softly, "Tell her tomorrow, as you wish. I won't recognize such a person as a mother. I won't let anyone make my daughter cry. She'll get what she deserves." That night, after Lucy went to sleep, I called Mike. I wanted to confirm what Lucy had told me today. It's true. I didn't tell Kate because I didn't want to worry her, but to ambush Lucy. I didn't know she was meeting Lucy too. This is the first I've heard. But I did ask Lucy if she wanted to live with her previous mom. She's no good, but she is Lucy's real mother. However, Lucy said no. She wants to stay here. So, I thought I'd handle it myself. It seems she's been coming to meet Lucy quite often. Anne. I could feel Mike's anger through the phone. I understand how you feel. Anyway, I'll go meet and with Lucy on the next school holiday. Mike sounded panicked at my words. Wait! Can't you wait until I return home? It's impossible. That woman made Lucy cry. I can't stay silent any longer. Don't worry, Mike, I said and hung up. The next day, while organizing my room, Lucy came back from school. How was it? Was she there today? Did she give you the note? Yes. She said to make sure to come on Saturday at 10 a.m. Good. Thank you. The note I specified was for a meeting at a cafe on Saturday, a school holiday, with the three of us. She'll come thinking she'll just get money without any suspicion. Seeing Lucy's downcast face, then let's go buy some clothes to wear, I suggested. Eh? Yes, we have to dress up. Since Saturday will be the last day you'll see her, I confirmed with Lucy, who was frozen. Are you really okay with not seeing her anymore? Yes. I don't want to see someone who troubles Dad and Mom anymore. Lucy answered firmly with determined eyes. Then I'll get ready, so go wash your hands and gargle. There's a snack in the fridge. I watched Lucy run energetically to the washroom and started putting the old books I had taken out into a paper bag. Lucy and I, dressed in clothes that anyone could tell were from high-end brands at a glance, headed to the cafe for our appointment. I wouldn't normally choose clothes this way. Whether expensive or cheap, I want to dress Lucy in clothes that suit her, that she likes. But today alone, even this serves as an attack on the other party. Lucy, no matter what I say or what she says, will you trust me? After nodding, Lucy and I entered the cafe hand in hand, confidently. Oh, Lucy. Dressed in such nice clothes. They suit you well. Anne, who had arrived earlier, said with a broad smile upon seeing Lucy. Come sit next to me. Ignoring Anne's words, Lucy sat next to me. Anne's face twitched slightly, but she managed a smile. I too smiled and deliberately placed a heavy paper bag and a branded bag in front of Lucy. Keep an eye on this, it's important. Anne's eyes changed. She stared at the paper bag, thinking it contained luxury bags and money. I ordered coffee for myself and a cake set for Lucy. After introducing ourselves, I quickly brought up the topic. So you want to take Lucy back? That's right. She's my dear daughter, after all. I want to raise her myself. Is that so? I heard from Mike that, Kate, you've been treating Lucy like your own daughter, haven't you? Yes, of course. And so, it pains me to take Lucy away from you. Instead, I was thinking, maybe I could receive something in return, you know? I pretended to be confused and tilted my head. In return? What kind of? You know what I mean. Sorry, I'm not quite familiar with these things. There was a silence, and I sipped my coffee. To Lucy, who had been looking down at her mobile phone. Eat up. It's delicious. I encouraged her to eat the cake in front of her, and was getting irritated by our behavior. After a while of silence, she leaned forward. Come on, money, money. Money? I asked back loudly, pretending to be surprised. And frowned. Obviously. And sighed. As if it's a big deal to give up my precious daughter. That sort of compensation. At that point. No. I interrupted. I am a woman too. I understand how precious a child is to a mother. I have no intention of taking Lucy away from Anne. Eh? And was dumbfounded, and Lucy, surprised, dropped her fork and looked up at me. I picked up the fork that had fallen on the table and handed it back to Lucy. Was she feeling betrayed? Though it pained my heart to think so, I decided to trust Lucy, who had nodded her trust in me. What are you saying? Therefore, if Anne and Lucy wish, I will return Lucy to Anne. I'll also help persuade Mike. Anne, as if in disbelief. Wait a minute. Laughed. She looked at Lucy anxiously. Lucy, what about you? You don't want to be separated from Kate and Dad, right? She said, almost assuming. Lucy looked at Anne, then at me, before looking down. Then she raised her head. Either is fine. And started looking at her mobile phone screen again. Are you stupid? And slammed the table. Lucy looked up. Then I'll take child support. $10,000. No, that's not enough. First, give me $50,000. And was desperate. Gradually losing composure, her true nature was showing. I leaned back in my chair and crossed my arms leisurely. That's not for Anne to decide, right? There's a set method for calculating that. Whether to pay more than that is something Mike should discuss. It's not for me to pay, I stated clearly. Anne, who had thought she could easily get money, was getting increasingly frustrated. But I faced her squarely without changing my expression. This is just the beginning. I'll press on from here. So that you never appear before Lucy again. You told Lucy, right? As you wish. Yes. You haven't done it at all. His father is the president of a company, right? Money should be no object. As Anne's voice grew louder. People are watching, I whispered, glancing around, and clamped her mouth shut. I dramatically sighed before speaking. What are you saying? I confirmed it with you first, didn't I? You said you wanted to take Lucy back, that you wanted to raise her yourself. So, I offered my support. Is there something wrong with that? Something wrong, you say? Anne's lips quivered. I pressed on further. Also, I have a question. How do you plan to support Lucy? Child support is meant to cover the necessary expenses for Lucy's life, right? It's not meant to be spent on your luxuries. You are the one supposed to cover the basic living expenses. That's what I said. That's ridiculous. That man ran off with a younger woman, leaving me behind. Lucy, if it comes to this, you're coming with me. If you don't want to suffer, cry with me and beg this woman. Ask her to pay money to Mom. Her desperation was unseemly. Living selfishly, always depending on someone else without trying to make an effort. And to think she claims to have been betrayed in the end, it was her own fault. So, let me get this straight. You have no intention of raising Lucy, but you said you wanted to take her back because you want money? And didn't answer. Just glared at me. I'll keep harassing you until I get the money. I'll even go to Lucy's school. I'll claim that despite being her mother, I was robbed of her. I'll scream in front of your house and make sure the neighbors see your shame. And growled in a low voice, no longer caring about appearances. Enough is enough. I reached for the bag in front of Lucy and pulled out a small voice recorder. I turned it off and showed it to Anne. That's a clear threat. And with this, no one will think to give you custody, income aside. And, frustrated, stood up and reached out to snatch the voice recorder from me. I pulled the recorder away to prevent it from being taken. A hand reached out from the side and grabbed Anne's wrist. Both Anne and I looked in that direction. Dad! Lucy's voice echoed in the cafe. Mike? What are you doing here? And was astonished. I too wanted to know why Mike was here. Mike returned Anne's call with a cold look. "If you try to harm my wife, I'll sue you." It was the first time I saw Mike speak so sternly. "Dad." He gently stroked Lucy's head as she hugged him. "Mike, the business trip?" Wondering how he could be here when he was supposed to be overseas. "How could I not come back for a family emergency?" He smiled. Then he turned his gaze back to Anne. "When will you realize? As a mother, you're no longer accepted by your daughter. Your behavior is despicable." Despite the anger in his voice, Mike spoke calmly. But even this must have been a severe blow to Anne. It might have been more effective than any of my arguments. And looked down for a while, trembling with frustration. "At least," she muttered something low, reaching out and pulled the paper bag toward herself. "Then at least give me this." Anne clutched the bag. "Sure," I easily agreed. "I was planning to sell it to a second-hand bookstore anyway, so if you'd like, please take it." At my words, "Eh?" and let out. Upon checking the contents, "I don't want these dirty books." Her reaction was exactly as I had anticipated. I secretly sighed, thinking there was no saving her. "Ah." Lucy rushed to pick up a book that had fallen to the floor, dusting each one off. Poor thing. She put them back in the bag. I stood up and squatted next to Lucy. "The books are happy to be treated with care. These were given to me by Grandpa." "From Grandpa?" "Grandpa's not around anymore, but I thought he'd forgive me if I had to give them away today. But since Anne doesn't want them, would you like them, Lucy?" Lucy looked up. "Yes. I'll treasure them." And smiled happily. "That's good. They are all first editions, some worth more than $10,000 each." The one most startled by my words was Anne. "Eh? Really? I'll take those books then. You said you'd give them to me, right?" As Anne stood up, Mike sighed. He grabbed her shoulder and made her sit again. "You never learn. These are now Lucy's." "Mike, please. Convince Kate. I really have no money." "I don't care. But I'll pay for what we had here." Mike took the check and my bag. "Let's go," he said to us. Then, turning back to Anne. "I'll say this one more time, if you harass my wife or daughter again, I will indeed sue you." We apologized to the cafe staff for the disturbance and left. Mike had managed to return from his trip by pushing through the arrangements. The mobile phone Lucy had been fiddling with was used to stay in touch with Mike since then, and has not shown her face to Lucy or me. However, she did visit Mike once after he returned from his business trip. She was evicted from her apartment because she couldn't pay the rent. She showed up in dirty clothes with 2 bags, begging for help with only $100 to her name. When Mike refused and told her to live more responsibly, she cursed him out before breaking down and crying like a child. Since that day, Lucy and I have been like real mother and daughter. She helps with preparing dinner and even with the laundry. It's not that she feels she has to help, but rather she enjoys spending time with me. And most importantly, we talk a lot more. "Before you married Dad, you came to visit me when I was sick, remember?" "Yes. I had heard about Lucy, but that was the first time we actually met." Mom was really worried about me that day, so kind. I thought it would be nice if she could be my mom. "So why didn't you warm up to me sooner?" I asked, and it seems she was afraid that it would be harder to part if she got taken back by Anne. "You didn't have to worry about that. I'm your mom, and I'll always protect you." I promised. "From now on, feel free to talk to me and rely on me for anything." "Yes." My daughter's cheerful response filled me with joy.